Poor Jesus, after being questioned, excuse me, by a very unfair court, they hauled him off to be questioned by Pilate, Pontius Pilate of Rome, for that district. I swallowed wrong. And Jesus stood before Pilate, but behind him were all of the scribes and the high priests and the Pharisees and all the Jews that hated him so vehemently. And Pilate asked Jesus some questions, but finally, the main question that everybody wanted, the Jews were mad because he was saying that he was going to come as king someday, the ruler of the country. All the Jews hated that. But Pilate said, they say you're the king of the Jews. Are you the king of the Jews? And Jesus said, you say that I am. Well, Pilate questioned him over and over and over, and he could find no fault with Jesus at all. Jesus hardly spoke a word. And it tells us in the Old Testament that as a sheep, it's in Isaiah, as a sheep is led before her shearers, as she is quiet, even so was Jesus quiet. And boy, was he being sheared terrible. But he said nothing in his defense at all. But that was prophesied that he wouldn't, because he knew he had to be crucified. And Pilate's wife had a dream about Jesus the night before he came. And she said, she came up to her husband and she whispered in his ear as Jesus was standing before him, she said, Pilate, this man is innocent. He is totally innocent. Pilate says, I find him innocent too, but this mob out here. And Pilate found no fault in him, and the wife said, don't crucify him. And this awful mob is out there saying, crucify him, which was the worst kind of death that they could give anybody. And Pilate said, I'm going to wash my hands of this. Send him to Herod. He's the governor over everything. So they sent him to Herod, and it was Herod, this was the son of the Herod that wanted Jesus killed when he was a baby. And so they sent him to Herod, and Herod couldn't find any fault in Jesus either. And so he sent him back to Pilate again. And Pilate just took a basin of water, and he said, before I do this, he said, I'm going to give you a choice. I'm going to release to you, if you want him, this horrible murderer that we've had locked up for a long time named Barabbas. Would you like to get rid of Barabbas instead? Or should I release Barabbas to you, and you get this murderer back on the streets, and then crucify Jesus? And they said, give us Barabbas, give us Barabbas, let Barabbas go free. Oh my goodness, Pilate was shocked at this. And with that, like I said, he had a basin of water out there, and the crowd kept, and you know who the crowd is, the Pharisees and the scribes and all the Jews that hated Jesus. Crucify him, crucify him. That's all the mob was saying, crucify him. And Jesus is here standing with his hands tied behind his back and not saying a word. Oh, just like a little lamb that goes in to get sheared, doesn't say a word. And so they let Barabbas go free. And Pilate said, I wash my hands of the blood of this man. He dipped his hands in a basin of water. And he said, his blood is not going to be on my hands. And so he turned Barabbas loose and he took Jesus to be crucified, or he allowed them to take Jesus to be crucified. Oh, poor Jesus. And you know, there are so many things in the Old Testament that tell of the happenings of the crucifixion. But you know what they did before they crucified him? They took him to a special place and they flogged him and they beat him. They hit him with chains. They socked him. They punched him. And you know what they did? They made a crown of thorns, like a circle, like we have wreaths on the doors at Christmas time. They put this crown of thorns on Jesus' head. And they were laughing at him and mocking him. And they gave him a purple robe. And they made a sign that when they got up to the mountain where he was going to be crucified, they made a sign that they tacked it up there. They were going to tack it up there. It says, this is Jesus, the King of the Jews. But they were mocking him. Just terrible. I don't want to go into all the details of the gruesomeness of all of this. But we do know that it's all, if you want to read it, it's all laid out in Isaiah chapter 53. And even in chapter 52, the verse, what was the verse? And I can't remember the number of the verse, but down toward the end of Isaiah chapter 52, it also tells about the crucifixion of Christ long before Jesus was even born. But it gives detail by detail of what they did at the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Another sonogram in the Old Testament. But it says in Isaiah 52 that he was beaten beyond even being recognized as a man. Wow. Oh, how awful. Poor Jesus. Makes me cry right now. And so I'm going to leave off there. But Jesus is on his way to be crucified. But oh, what a picture again, with that crown of thorns on his head. It's like when Abraham brought Isaac up to the mountain, and God told Abraham to offer Isaac, but Isaac was let go free because they found a lamb caught in the thicket with the thorns, and caught in the thicket of thorns with his head. And that's Jesus again, the Lamb of God, who's going to take away the sin of the world, so we, like Isaac, so we can go free from sin. And you know one other thing? When Jesus was being whipped and flogged, beaten in every way, shape, or form, and even punched and stabbed, remember out in the wilderness, when they were coming out of Egypt, God told Moses to make a bronze snake and hold it up on a pole, and whoever looked at that bronze snake would be healed from all the rattlesnake bites that they were getting. But if they would look at that, they would be healed from all the snake bites. And here we have Jesus. It says God has made him to be sin, to be the snake, taking all of that punishment for us so that we can go free. God has made him to be sin for us, and sin got every flogging, beating, whipping, chain lash, punch, stab. Sin got that what it deserved, Sin got what it deserved on the cross, and Jesus was taking it. Oh, I'm going on and on too long about this. But I'm going to put some references down there to show you how, again, the Old Testament is coming true right to form in the person of Jesus Christ and his crucifixion. So I'll say goodbye. I can't ramble on like this. Okay, I'll be back again.